still I just sign. I don't need to live controlling my streams.
We're back. I've been meaning to make more long form content for a while now, and what better of a time to do that than a full week in the life with the new M4 iPad Pro. My main goal is to put this thing through its paces in a big way in this video. So for the next week, I'm going to be ditching my MacBook, I'll be ditching my Mac Studio, and I will be doing everything in my creator business with just the iPad and my phone. I do think that there will be some challenges or maybe limitations of the iPad doing my regular work, but I'm gonna be putting it really through its paces, testing things like battery life and kind of figuring out what the workflow is that allows me to get done the bulk of my work as a full-time creator. It's gonna feel weird leaving home with literally just an iPad, but I've got a train to catch, so let's get the day started. Now, the first order of business is a day in the city with a bunch of my creator friends where I want to better understand just how they integrate something like an iPad into their creative work. I've only had this new iPad for a few days at this point, so it'll be fun to get their initial reactions to what Apple is calling the thinnest device they've ever made. My guy. Oh, that was good. That was really good. Look at this little guy. Hi, buddy. Oh. If you guys ever visit Vancouver, Nemesis Coffee is an absolute must. Their coffee is some of the best in the entire city. And the setup here is just absolutely insane. They have like these 6 shelves everywhere. It's such a sick place. One of the fun things about the studio here is they have this kind of wall of fame. Everyone that comes in here pretty much gets a photo taken, put up on the wall. But got your boy up here. Yeah, it's one of the coolest parts of the studio here. So you are a iPad power user from what I understand.
I am. I do a lot of art and drawing and editing and stuff on Procreate. I mean, I feel like I've heard a lot of very exaggerated takes on how thin it is. So I thought it would be kind of like cartoonishly thin, but it's not. I mean, like it feels like it's thinner than the previous iPad, but it still feels like a tablet computer.
But I'm curious how the weight feels if you were to switch between these two.
Oh yeah, this does feel quite a bit heavier. Already only even holding it just for a few seconds, my weak wrist is already sort of buckling under the pressure of this.
So in that case, then the new one would be quite an upgrade in the weight department.
Yeah.
Like if you are a one-handed user, that would be.
There's marginal improvements for sure.
Yeah.
Like it's obviously not worse than the previous thing.
Yeah.
It's just for the price, the improvements seem pretty marginal. Like it would be hard for me to justify spending this much money on something that is like, I don't know, 10% better.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I wouldn't consider mine to be heavy, but in comparison, it is obviously a lot lighter.
Right. Here is the Pencil Pro. Hold it and give it a good squeeze on the barrel. It feels like you're pressing a button, right?
Oh yeah, the hover you get as well. Like it's really small. I mean, that is pretty good. I do appreciate it in like the slider bars here. It does feel quicker than mine. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like making it up.
Right,
I need it side by side. I mean, it's only minimal, but it like definitely
it
lags a little bit, and even like when you're drawing, there's like a slight.
So if you were to do that same gesture right here, it keeps up a little bit better, huh?
Yeah, it's way more accurate.
Do you care about your iPad having a camera?
No, I would actually prefer if it didn't have a camera.
I'm hearing more and more people say that.
For this very reason. Because it just like, I'm scared I'm going to damage it if I like drag it across the table and like knock it. I prefer if it was just flat.
Good boy, good boy.
Good boy. Boy, wait.
Let's see it. So sick. Every time I meet up with someone, I go for the dap up.
I feel like we always kill it.
You use an iPad, right?
I do, look at that's proof right there.
Yes, sir.
That I'm a real iPad user.
How do you think the iPad fits into like your creative workflow?
I'm a very like process person where it's like whatever's easiest. You know, I only edit at home where I have my big monitor. I don't want to edit on the plane with my laptop like this. It's way harder.
Right.
And sometimes that's what this is like for me. Learning processes on here. I'd rather just edit. Like I'm not going to edit a video on here. Will mentioned he might try to do that.
Yeah.
Pray for him.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that's crazy. For things like when I go on travel trips for a weekend, maybe instead of my MacBook, maybe it's this. But my MacBook isn't that big. It's not that big of a pain to bring everywhere, so I don't know.
Had a good time, brother. Whoa, that's crazy. I'll take it. It is always so nice talking with Adam, but I do have some work that I need to get done, so it's time to head home for the day. For Will? Yeah, perfect. Thank you, man. I am tired as hell. Vlogging is tiring, bro. That's crazy. Okay, after day one of using the new iPad Pro as my primary computer, I definitely have some thoughts, and I want to start by doing some comparisons to my previous iPad. I, like many people, upgraded to the iPad Pro in 2018 when they came out with that new form factor, and I haven't really seen a big reason to upgrade past this since I bought this. It's already extremely thin. It was really lightweight. It kind of just felt like the perfect device, and I think a lot of people feel that way. This is the first iPad that has felt like it might be a worthwhile upgrade from my 2018 version. Me personally, I do think that the Pencil has some really meaningful, worthwhile upgrades that once more third-party apps actually start to optimize for it, they have something really special with this. But in all honesty, the Pencil is not necessarily the thing that is going to make this feel like a computer. It's not going to be the thing that makes me feel like that iPad can do what the old one couldn't. Weirdly enough, it's this. The Apple first-party keyboard, the base of this is worlds better. Like literally, they have basically put a MacBook Air bottom chassis into an iPad case. It actually feels like you're using a touchscreen Mac, and I really like that. So I think a large focus of mine over the next week will be, if you have one of these older iPads, is this new model a worthwhile upgrade? What can this do that the previous one just couldn't? And really just figuring out ways to put it through its paces. I want to see what makes this new M4 chip sweat. Oh, and can you actually tell how much thinner this thing is compared to the old model? When you look at the USB-C port, you can really tell they will have a hard time going any thinner than this. And then, yeah, we have another busy day with some exciting stuff planned tomorrow, so I'll catch up with you then. All right, it is now Friday, and I have a pretty busy day in the office since this is my last full work day before I leave on my trip. I'm gonna be flying down to Arizona in a few days, so there is a lot to get done. My to-do list is I wanna film a quick and easy short form video, edit that on the iPad, and then get that posted today. I also need to figure out storage and file structure on this thing since it's just so different from macOS. I think I found a good workaround, and I'll talk more about that in just a bit. But first, I have something really special I want to show you guys. Okay, so I've been waiting to show this on camera for a bit over a week now, but this is probably the single coolest package I'll receive all year, and if you know what this is, you know why that is. You see, a few weeks back, I managed to cross a milestone here on YouTube that I've literally dreamt of doing since I was like 12 years old, and that is crossing 100,000 subscribers. Somehow it doesn't feel real seeing this thing with my name on it, but I just wanted to share this moment with all of you since I literally could not have done this at all if it was not for your support. I'm gonna be hanging this thing on the wall above the calendar back there, but genuinely, thank you so much for making this dream a reality. This is also what I'm planning on making that short form video today about, so let's get started on that now.
Jacket, goose infused, velvet in the line, and probably sacrilegious, all the materials I'm combining all this.
So I just finished up shooting the short form video, and now I'm gonna show you the process that I've come up with to get the footage off the Sony camera and onto the iPad, because it's a little bit weird. I think I'm gonna use this U-Green USB adapter hub thing. This is not sponsored. I had this laying around from some PR they sent me around Christmas last year. And from what I can tell, the best way about getting the footage from the Sony onto the iPad is by turning on Stage Manager, going to Files, and then hitting Command N to bring up another window. And then that allows you to have kind of like this side-by-side window, similar to if you were doing this on a Mac. All you have to do is just select the clips, copy them, paste them into the files. And this actually doesn't feel that bad compared to how I've always done this on the Mac. All you need is a small adapter and you're pretty much good to go. I'm quickly realizing that Stage Manager is a big deal and I think I'm gonna need to use it a lot this week, but I'll continue sharing that as I go. Now comes the fun part, figuring out how to edit on this thing. This should be able to plug directly into the studio display for a bigger workspace. Let's try that out. Okay, This is sick. Dude, it's so snappy too. The monitor just like wakes up instantly like it's a phone screen. I know it's been able to do this for a while, but this is my first time using an iPad with an extended display like this, so that is really cool.
Bodybuilder Bentley, tear the street up like it's Cloverfield. Rocky and my brother Cubby can't afford a soda spill.
Okay, my initial thoughts editing on Final Cut Pro for the iPad is that it's a very bare bones version of an already bare bones video editor, but it works. I keep having to like look up how to do the shortcuts, and all the gestures are a little bit different. Like everything's just in a different place that I'm used to. But I managed to get done the short form edit. What I gotta do now, post the video, and then I need to go get a bit of a haircut because my hair is a little bit long right now, and then have a little bit more work to do in a little bit later, but it's haircut time. All right, vlog, how are we looking? I did not vlog at the barbershop because I'm just not used to vlogging in public like that yet, but I feel like he has me right, man. Like it's looking pretty good. Another thing I forgot to mention about using the iPad tethered to the studio display is that the studio display has enough power to charge this. The new case has this USB-C plug-in, so you can charge the iPad while you're using it. You can still have like a hard drive or a dongle plugged in there, so you don't have to unplug and replug. Like that's actually a really good change. It's been a good day, it's been a productive day, but there's more work to do. So a few hours have passed since the last time I checked in. It's now 9:20 p.m. and basically what I've been doing is playing around with Final Cut Pro on the iPad. And then towards the end of my editing session, I started noticing things with the Apple Pencil that I'm gonna explore a lot more with this week. So because you can do like the hover where you kind of hold the pencil above the iPad, I could see myself like really quickly being able to scrub the playhead with the pencil and then do my cuts on the keyboard. So I don't know, like I feel like there are definitely trade-offs. The biggest ones that are missing are no support for LUTs, although the app has built-in log conversions with like a bunch of different camera settings that you can choose from. And then the ability to sync audio and just like a few other small things. Obviously this video you're watching right now will be fully edited on the iPad. I will be starting that edit actually tomorrow. I think the real test is gonna be figuring out just how well it's able to handle such a large project. It's gonna be a 4K file. And I think this video is probably gonna be like 30 minutes long, which will be the longest that I've ever made. I feel really serious about wanting to get good at doing these types of vlogs. And I do think that doing this practice is like working out a muscle. The more you do it, the better you'll get with it. But I think I'm gonna call it for tonight. I'm getting pretty tired and we have some more stuff to get done tomorrow. Oh, and of course, just thank you for all of the love on the short form video about the plaque. It feels unreal to see just so many people being so nice about that. So yeah, thank you. Good morning, it's Saturday, and so far I've had a little bit slower start to the day compared to the last few because your boy's tired. So far I watched some Formula One. It's Monaco week, so you know, quali day is just where it's at. One thing I like to do on the weekend is catching up on the content the homies put out that week. It's always super inspiring seeing what everyone's been working on, and I consider myself a student of the game, so I learn a lot just from observing how others go about making what they put out. I try not to do full creative work on the weekend to create for a little bit of work-life balance, but this is a busy week, so there's definitely still some work to do. One thing I see coming up quite often when talking about this new iPad is that it's too thin, or people assume that it'll bend easily. So let me give you my thoughts on the hardware this year. Now, this is my first time using the larger iPad Pro version, and personally, I 100% appreciate the thinner form factor and weight. I feel like I'm just much more likely to grab this thing for a quick day out or even for a trip, and I'm actually really enjoying the experience of using iPadOS on the larger screen. It's worth mentioning that Apple did remove one of the cameras on the back this year, which at first I thought was kind of weird, but honestly, it's fine. Most people will just want to use their phone to shoot video anyway. And as far as bending is concerned, if you're using something like the new Magic Keyboard, I think you'll be 100% fine since this adds some extra structure, but personally, I will not be throwing this thing in my bag without that. Like, I will say that this is the first device that I've ever bought AppleCare on because I also was a bit worried about the bends, but so far nothing, and it's probably fine. I do have a little bit of time now before I need to start packing for the trip, so I'm gonna actually start working on editing the video you're watching now. and lock in a little bit. Also, the studio is looking mad nice on camera. Studio tour coming soon. All right, we got a really good start on this, but we got to pack for the trip now. If I haven't mentioned it much already, I'm flying down to Arizona for a few days to visit some family and to work on this video. If you didn't already know, I was actually born and raised in Arizona, lived there most of my life before moving up here to Vancouver, and it's been about a year since I've been down there, so I'm looking forward to the trip. I could probably do an entire dedicated video on this, but for the sake of time, let's just do a quick what's in my tech travel bag for this upcoming trip. The backpack that I've been using for pretty much every trip that I've gone on lately is the Everything Backpack by Moment. It's waterproof. It's relatively slim profiled, and then it opens up like really nicely so that you can access everything. This did end up replacing my old Brevity backpack that I was using for like 4 years, so I've been pretty impressed with it so far. And just up front, I want to say that none of this is sponsored. A lot of these products were sent to me for review purposes at some point, but for the purpose of this video, nothing is sponsored here. These are all things that I'm choosing to bring because I use them. So for the main camera, I'm bringing the Sony ZV-E1. I think this is the absolute best way to set this camera up for travel. This is a 16-35 lens on it, but it is the f4 power zoom version. Look at how small this is. It's also extremely lightweight. I think that this is one of the most slept on combos in all of the vlogging game right now. I really lean on the iPhone quite often when I'm doing vlog type videos on traveling because the cameras are just that good. This is one of the absolute best parts of my entire kit, and this thing is light. It is carbon fiber, so it's extremely lightweight. It's about half the cost of the Peak Design version of pretty much the same thing. Obviously, the iPad Pro itself using the Apple case. This water bottle has been a constant mainstay in my travel kit as well. It's from Rhino Shield, and what I love about this is it's rather slim, so it's great for travel, but the top part here, this is a MagSafe ring. So you can use this as an impromptu iPhone tripod pretty much anywhere you go. And then the last thing here, this is a portable tube light from LumeCube. I use these a lot in my videos. If I need to do product shots while I'm on the road, this is great. You'll notice a lot of the decisions that I make and the gear that I bring with me on trips is optimized for size and weight. So the iPad being thinner and lighter than it used to be is actually kind of in line with the type of thing that I would normally bring. I've honestly spent way more time in my office today than I planned to, so I'm gonna get everything packed up and then go touch some grass. This week has been pretty hectic, so it's good to get outside and touch some grass every now and then. Very lucky to have pretty much instant access to stuff like this whenever I want, so it's nice. I find that I'm a bit of a grinder at times, and that's a good thing and a bad thing. So a mental shift that I had earlier this year was rather than prioritizing the work as the thing that just had to get done that day, the non-negotiable being the work, I made the non-negotiable going outside, touching grass, going for walks. And honestly, that single shift in how I approach getting my work done has just been the absolute best thing that I've probably done all year. When I have a more confined window that I need to get my work done, I tend to get it done easier rather than having it be so wide open. If you tend to struggle with getting things done, or that's a challenge for you, prioritize the fun and the leisure, make that non-negotiable, then everything else just has to fit in like a puzzle piece. Art night was a ton of fun. It's really quite enjoyable learning how to use the iPad for digital art. We have our flight in the morning. It's time to go home and get some sleep. Good morning. Today is a travel day. Right now I'm currently downloading a couple of movies to the iPad because today is a little bit lighter of a work day on the device, but I want to test out what it's like actually traveling with the bigger sized iPad. That's the main goal that I'm looking to cover today. I never thought I'd be that guy who films himself getting work done at the airport, but here we are. We made it. I forgot how hot it is here, man. Damn. They literally make you take like a tram thing to get here, and then it's just this giant mausoleum looking building. Crazy. We're about to rent a car. We've actually stayed at this hotel before and it is really nice. So let me just give you guys a quick room tour here. When you first enter, you have these like really unique overhead lighting. I don't know, like this looks really, really nice. I do love that the closet and whatnot, they all have these interior lighting as well. Bathroom has this giant sliding glass door. It's like a really interesting texture on the wall there too. Looks really nice, kind of premium. The mirror setup is also pretty dope. What is this? Can I do brightness of the mirror? Oh yeah, you can. Coming into the actual room itself, we went with the option with just the single king with the behind lighting that looks really cool. Nice little seating area that you can get some work done. Say hello to Yasmin. And then yeah, we have like this kind of lounge couch. And obviously the best part of all is we are located on the 13th floor of this building. You can kind of see downtown Phoenix that way. And the best part about this place is it's located right here on Mill Ave, which if you're not familiar, it's just this street full of like bars and great restaurants and like good nightlife. It's a really, really nice place to stay. It's actually, I think, my favorite place to stay if you're visiting Arizona. And of course, you already know we have the Dallas, Minnesota game on, playoff basketball. So much fun. Now we're gonna be heading out for dinner in just a few minutes, but I wanted to give my first impressions and just kind of my thoughts overall on flying with the new iPad Pro because it was a little interesting. First and foremost, the size. I was really hoping that the 13-inch was gonna feel fine, but in all honesty, it was pretty cramped. But the reason it was pretty cramped was because of the way that the new Magic Keyboard is set up. For doing stuff like watching content, honestly, it was just fine. But if I wanted to be typing or especially using the trackpad, there was just no shot that I was gonna be able to do that. It was like pressed right up into me. So that was definitely something that I would probably not enjoy doing. If I had a smaller 11-inch, I probably would have had a better time if the goal was to get work done on the trackpad. Battery life is something that I am really enjoying so far on this new iPad. Not to get too nerdy about it, but essentially, this is Apple's second time around with the 3nm chip process, and why that's significant or why that might matter to you is when the iPhone 15 came out last year, they were using a brand new process that they hadn't optimized yet, and it ended up being to where they had to overclock those chips, which meant that they were running hot, which meant essentially that you were getting a faster chip, but it was worse on the phone overall. What this means for regular everyday people is that the battery life on the iPhone 15 series, especially the 15 Pros, has started to degrade at a faster rate than I would typically expect. But the reason I'm talking about this is because these new iPads are on the second processor, on the second go around. It's why they ended up actually skipping the M3 chip on these iPads and just going to the M4. I'm sure that's a big reason of it, because Apple just wants to be done with this first gen 3nm process now that these new ones are much more efficient. So that's why so far the battery life has just been amazing for me. Like I was literally editing video in the airport before the flight for like over an hour, which is a pretty intensive task. On the flight, I was watching a movie with the screen brightness pretty much all the way up. I watched some YouTube videos that I had downloaded, did some scripting in Notion, and literally my battery is still at 76% today. That is really, really good for something that is the thinnest product that Apple's ever made. It's still early days in the testing, but so far, I don't think battery life is going to be an issue with this. It actually might be one of its big strong points. But yeah, so far so good. I'm actually quite enjoying my experience using this as my only computer. It's definitely a little bit nerve-wracking too coming on this chip, because at least when I was at home in my office, I could use my MacBook if I needed something really critical with my work. But now we are a 3-hour flight away, and this is the only machine that I have with me to get my work done. So this is truly putting it to the test. All right, we are gonna go get some dinner now because we are starving. So I'll catch up with you later. Welcome to day 5 of 7, and today I wanted to give you guys a bit of an inside look into the type of admin work I need to do every week as a self-represented full-time creator. The new Magic Keyboard just feels incredible for typing up emails or working on scripts, and this type of work is a breeze with pretty much any iPad. You don't need the Pro for this. Every single week I do a check-in on my creator business, almost like a traditional company would have like an all-hands meeting, and I've actually been doing this since the very first week of covering tech content around 2 years ago. The basic breakdown of this is I like to look at things from my previous week that did well, figure out areas I can continue improving on, and set or track current goals so I'm always moving forward as much as possible. It's almost like journaling with a very business and creative focus, and in all honesty, it's one of the big reasons that I'm able to keep doing what I do on a day-to-day basis. Now, another really important part of my daily admin routine is staying on top of brand emails and working on contract negotiations. I have a lot of other creator friends who are currently with agencies, and that's a great way to handle this type of work, but currently, I'm representing myself pretty much entirely. That means right now I'm probably getting around 30 to 50 emails a day that I need to go through, but full transparency, around 95% of those end up going in a not interested folder, since for the most part, a lot of them are just auto-generated emails that get sent to, let's say, a bunch of TikTok accounts at the same time. Of course, a lot of my current opportunities that are coming in through inbound, so I need to always make sure that I have enough time to respond to these promptly, and each partner or project requires varying levels of my attention. I try to get through all of these emails in under an hour each day, but I do find that at the beginning of a week on a Monday or a Tuesday, there tends to be more stuff coming in after the weekend ends, so I do find I spend more time on it on those days. If you guys want to see more in-depth info on how I do this kind of stuff, just let me know and I'll be happy to dive further into it in another video. So I just finished getting all of the admin work done for today. I also offloaded all of the day 4 footage and organized it in the Files app, which just makes editing this video that much easier since I've never done a 7-day vlog. The iPad is still sitting above 30% and I literally haven't plugged it in since before I left, so that's pretty crazy. The battery is wild for me so far. I think I'll work more on the edit for the video tomorrow morning, but for the rest of today, let's get outside and enjoy some of this summer weather. Growing up in Arizona, pretty much the only way that you survive the summers is if you can find a nice pool somewhere. The hotel that we're staying at has this crazy rooftop pool, bar, kind of lounge area, and it's just 10 out of 10. Pretty cool. They got this like movie theater screen over here that's bright as hell at night. And for the most part, we have it all to ourselves today. So really love to see that. All right, I'm being 100% delusional. They do this. They're the first team ever to do this. I'm going for a hike today. One thing I've been thinking a lot about this week, but also just in general lately, is how to strike a balance between doing proper short form and long form content. The longer that I stay in these routines, I find it's really easy to prioritize one or the other, but doing both at the same time is getting increasingly difficult as my standards of quality increase too. For example, last few months, I've been killing it on the short form game, but my long form content has basically been on pause while I figure all that out. Also, if I'm out of breath, I'm literally going up a hill right now, so please excuse that. The answer might be eventually to just hire someone to help me with this, but I think for the time being, there are probably a lot of things that I could be doing that make it a little bit easier in the short term. Sometimes it feels like it's just this impossible game of finding a balance, and the scale kind of tips back and forth in different directions at different times. But I do think it's really important not to let one slip too far. The people who are killing it in this space right now are killing it at both. So that is a high priority for me. Don't want to see any of these today. Right now, the priority is putting out 4 to 6 short form pieces of content, because I find when I'm kind of putting out around that amount, things are growing, things are doing well. It lets me experiment and test quite a lot. I'm able to do my tried and true formats and have space to attempt new ones. Even though a lot of those don't actually hit, the ones that do can now become repeatable content. So that's why it's like a quantity thing. They're also very low stakes because it only takes maybe a few hours to make them versus a long form video where you spend potentially weeks on a single project. So it's a lot lower lift. It is low risk but high reward when they pay off. But then of course the higher stakes content can be more rewarding to make. For example, like I've been filming this video for 6 days now, and it's really quite interesting when I look back at the footage and I'm just remembering like, oh yeah, that was something I filmed this week for this vlog. It's pretty cool. I don't know, there's always trade-offs because I'm putting so much work into this video. There isn't a lot going into the short form this week. I think that's okay though. I might just need to do something where it's like every other week a long form project comes out and become more efficient batching my short form stuff so that there's space for both to exist in the same week. Honestly though, who knows? I'm figuring it out. I think I'm really proud of the stuff that I've been putting out this year, and as long as I can keep that up and keep the ball rolling in the right direction, I'll be pretty happy. All right, we're almost at the top now. And just like that, we made it to the top. Now the next item on my list today is to work on the thumbnail for this video, and currently I like to put those together using Procreate. Thumbnail design for my YouTube videos is actually the main creative task that I've been using my old iPad for about 8 months now, so I'm pretty used to the workflow since I've been doing it already. The way that I go about doing this is I typically start with the title and thumbnail package, sometimes long before the video is ever made, and the reason for this is that for long form videos, I think that this is one of the most important parts to get right. For this video, I wanted to use a similar style to my iPhone 15 Pro Max day in the life thumbnail, so that kind of gives you an idea of where the inspiration for this one comes from. I try to spend a lot of time working on the title and thumbnail package, sometimes 10 to 15 hours on just that alone, which, believe it or not, is actually nothing compared to some creators who spend way more time than even that. I've also been trying to use the new Apple Pencil to sketch rough ideas for thumbnails since I used to do this on paper for pretty much every project. This was the sketch that ended up becoming the first thumbnail for my first long form project that I did. I don't want to say that the thumbnail design is why that video did as well as it did, but I do think that the attention to detail with thumbnail and title combos is extremely important when you're making long form content. I think I'm pretty happy with this to start, but I also do tend to prep an extra 2 or 3 just to do some testing once the video is fully out. I think I'm pretty happy with what I got done today. The thumbnail is pretty much ready to go for this video, which feels great. I think I'm gonna go spend some time by the pool for the rest of the day, and I'm meeting up with a friend later for some sushi dinner. I ended up not recording at dinner just so I could be a bit more present, but something really cool happened when we were leaving, and that was getting our first ever ride in a driverless Uber. These are modified versions of a Jaguar I-Pace ran by a company called Waymo, and they can randomly appear as an option in the app, which was super cool to see. I remember them testing these for years when I lived here, but just seeing the tech on full display in public streets felt like a scene out of a sci-fi movie, and it was a 10 out of 10 experience. Welcome to day 7 and the final day of the vlog. Today I'm flying back home to Vancouver after a much needed getaway in the desert, and I thought what better of a way to end this experiment than to do a Q&A with my Instagram community. Which leads me to question number 1. When are the new wallpapers coming out? Very soon. I intended to have them ready for this video, but honestly, it's just been such a crazy week. A little bit more challenging at times than I thought, and it's hard to focus on being on vacation, socializing with friends and family, and working on a well put together vlog. So the wallpapers are coming very soon. I'm gonna go get one more quick pool session in before we have to check out. Rillo says, what's one thing that you wish the iPad could do for your work, but it just can't? Honestly, editing in Final Cut is a little bit annoying on the iPad. I have heard that DaVinci Resolve has full feature parity between the desktop and the iPad app version, so maybe in the future we make a switch over there. Yeah, definitely Final Cut being a little bit limited has been the biggest annoyance for me so far, especially when dealing with such a crazy long timeline like this video.
Next question. What is your go-to tech item? Honestly, it's just been my phone. For making videos like this, I have leaned so much on just the triple camera setup on the iPhone, and most of this vlog, especially the outdoor portions, were filmed just using the iPhone. That being said, I do have an exciting package waiting back for me at home, which is the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. I am going to be trying that out for future vlogs, so I'll definitely update that in the future. If you come to Arizona, come to Illegal Peeps. It's nuts. It's insane.
Can you snap your iPad in half for content purposes? Okay, no, I won't be doing that, but I will say that I've been beating it up quite a bit for the past week or so, throwing it in and out of the bag, and there are zero concerns on my part in terms of the actual device bending. I've seen zero issues at all, and I feel quite confident in the structure of it. Back at home, and it feels so good. Little bro in front of me managed to recline his seat so far back that he made his own business class seat back in economy, so that was fun. Also, check out what was waiting for me when I got back home. This one will be fun to dive into soon. To close out this Q&A, we have, at any point did you think to yourself, damn, I really wish I had my MacBook instead? This is the million-dollar question and the main reason I made this whole video. This week-long experience was pretty eye-opening to me since I threw myself into it with very little planning and just had to figure out how to make things work on the iPad along the way. But to answer your question directly, no, I did not miss my MacBook at all this week. But, and this is a big but, this experience is far from perfect. The main things I really didn't like at first were file management and multitasking. The fix for this is Stage Manager. I love using Stage Manager on the iPad. The ability to manage multiple windows almost like alternative desktops on Mac is absolutely goated, and I found myself using this way more than I expected. But an issue that I personally have is that this experience just isn't as nice on the smaller 11-inch iPad compared to the 13-inch. In fact, in order for me to get this good of an experience in replacing my laptop, I went with a 1TB 13-inch iPad Pro, an Apple Pencil Pro, and the new Magic Keyboard. The grand total cost for all of this is $2,733. For around $300 less, you can get yourself a brand new M3 Pro MacBook Pro, and you gain the benefits of things like an SD card reader, fully fledged Pro apps, and likely more performance depending on what you need. So to close out my thoughts on this new device, if you have the luxury of owning a highly spec'd version of this new iPad, you're probably going to love it. But this great experience does come with a very high price tag for what you're getting. It will require some adjustments to do things that you normally do, but I found that those adjustments usually took about a day or so to get used to, and then it was pretty smooth sailing from there. So to answer the question of will you still be using it daily going forward, I think I will. So far, this is the closest thing that I've experienced to what feels like a touchscreen MacBook, and with WWDC right around the corner, I am hopeful that this device will get even better with the new updates. The new Magic Keyboard and Pencil Pro were the stars of the show for me, and when I'm using this device, I just feel inspired to be creative, which is a feeling that my MacBook just hasn't been delivering as much lately. I also haven't watched any of the other reviews, so if my opinions on this don't line up with everyone else, that's totally fine. These have been my honest and unfiltered experiences when using this for a week within my creative work. If you've made it this far into the video, you're an absolute goat, and I appreciate you so much. Let me know what you think of these longer formatted videos, and if you enjoy them, I'll definitely be doing more in the very near future. Maybe for some non-Apple devices too. Thank you so much for watching. Long form season is back, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.